Good morning, students. Today we are going to study on pollination in animals. Just to recall what was done last class, so it was all about your pollination, the types of pollination, the agents of pollination. So pollination you've already understood, the transfer of pollen grains from one flower to the stigma of the same or different flowers. So it may be the self pollination or it may be cross pollination. So that is in general. Otherwise, you have studied in detail the types: autogamy, geitonogamy, and xenogamy. There are certain vectors which help in cross pollination as well as self pollination. So those vectors, it may be animals, it may be the wind, it may be the water. Based on the term, we have given already the term before. For wind pollination, it is anemophily. Water pollination, it is hydrophily, and if it is the animals which are helping in pollination, it is called as zoophily. So today we are studying about the zoophily or the pollination by animals. Without any delay, I'm just starting. So which are the examples? Bees, butterflies, flies, wasps, ants, moths, birds. So birds like hummingbird, there's bird missing here, hummingbird and sunbird, and there is bats. So bat is your mammal. Now among these you have your very important dominant biotic pollinator, the honeybees, okay, which are the most important pollinators in your crop fields, so and majority of your insects. So we highlight the bees are the dominant biotic pollinator. One mark question. Okay, then here there are certain larger animals which seem to be as pollinators. Those are lemurs, arboreal rodents, reptiles like gecko lizard and garden lizard. So just imagine you have your field, okay, it is your highest intentionally they come to pollinate is your bees or the insects. Unintentionally it is your other animals, the larger animals. They are unintentionally, that's why we have written as it seems to be as pollinators. Lemurs, arboreal rodents and reptile. The moment imagine this lizard comes in your garden, it tries to walk over the flowers just to catch the fly. So they are not in the intention of pollinating. They are unintentionally pollinating over there. So they are seem to be as the pollinators. Okay. It is not always, remember, it is not always, only in some cases. That's why they are given this example. So this is your all groups, different groups are there here. We're talking about insects, birds, mammals. Okay. Coming to the zoophilic flowers, first the flower features. Please remember it is large, colorful, fragrant and rich in nectar. These three terms, especially these three, colorful, fragrant and nectar, okay, which is absent in air and water pollinating flowers, is present only in zoophilic flowers. So that is the most important feature which attracts the insect. So what if in case the flowers are small in size? Then it has to be arranged on the inflorescence. So coming to your arrangement of inflorescence, I hope you all know this is zoophilic. It's colorful flowers. Since the size is small, we are giving it in more numbers so the color is more visible for the insect. Okay. Now in case of some flowers, they secrete or produce foul odors or the bad odor. So for example, I'll show you here your Amorphophallus, the whatever the stamens and pollen grains are there, it gives a very bad smell and that attracts the beetles. You can just observe the beetles how they look. So they are attracted towards that smell and they are ultimately pollinating also there. Okay. So continuing with our structure, I hope it is clear. The flies and beetles which are attracted by the foul odors. The example was here Amorphophallus. Okay, this is can be asked as 1 mark question. Give an example of a flower which produces foul odors. Okay, or the question can be asked, name the pollinators that are attracted towards the foul odor flowers, or the flowers which secretes foul odors. So the answer is flies and beetles. Those are your pollinators. Okay, coming to the next pollen grain structure, it is sticky in nature. That is your only important feature that sticks to the body of the pollinator and ultimately pollinating the flower. So you can just see this bee was first pollinating this flower. It had only come to collect the nectar and collect the pollen grains. When it came to the next flower, you can see how it touches the body to the stigma and help in the pollination process. Since the pollen grain is sticky in nature, from the body it sticks to the stigma of the flower which is in the other flower. To the stigma of the other flower. Just to get a better idea, you can see this bumblebee which is covered full with that sticky pollen grains. So sticky nature is an important feature in zoophilic flowers. Coming to the floral rewards. So floral reward is one type of you can say a gift from the flower because the pollinators are helping in pollination. So imagine when a bee is coming to pollinate the flower, to say thank you, the floral gives a reward, that is providing nectar and pollen grains. So nectar and pollen grains are the usual rewards. In some cases, the floral rewards are even more unique, that is providing a safe place to lay eggs. So here, let me just give you an example here. Observe this picture. This is the flower. You can see here moths. So the interaction is the plant yucca and the species of yucca moth. So let us understand what that is in your examples. So coming to the examples, you already understood about the bad odor produced by Amorphophallus, which attracts the flies and the beetles. Remember, 1 mark question, the tallest flower is Amorphophallus. The second example is under zoophily, is your plant yucca and species of moth, a mutual interaction between them. So remember these 4 points which is asked as a 3 mark question. So the interaction here, plant yucca and the species of moth cannot complete the life cycle without each other. Okay, so they need each other's help or presence to complete their reproductive cycle. So here moths first will deposit the eggs in the locule of ovary. Locule means chamber of ovary. Chamber is your cavity, remember. So as they come into the flower, you can observe here, as they come into the flower and fly and sit, so you can see how they are seated. The moment they come in contact with the stigma, the sticky pollens deposit on stigma and finally pollination also takes place. So as the moth deposits the eggs, eventually pollination occurs. So after a certain period, when the seeds are developing, the larvae of the moth also emerge out. Okay, so hatching occurs and the seeds are also developing there. So this is how there is a mutual interaction between the plant yucca and the species of moth. A very important 3 mark question. So this is your all examples. You can see the beetles, how they are attracted towards that bad odor in Amorphophallus. So this is your plant yucca and the species of moth. This is the stigma. This is the anther. Okay. Now we have completed with zoophily. We finished with zoophily here. So zoophily, I hope it is clear. The flowers are attractive, have color, have the fragrance and have the nectar. And in some cases, like your plant yucca, they provide place for laying the eggs for safety. Okay, and you have to study about the interaction between the yucca moth and the plant yucca. So this is your very important part of zoophily. We are done with the agents of pollination. Now we are going to study the outbreeding devices. The term outbreeding. Breeding means a reproductive phase itself. Okay. So when I say inbreeding, it is within the same species. When I say outbreeding, it may be different plants of same species or different plants of different species. That is your outbreeding. Okay. So you just got the meaning of outbreeding now. This is an important 5-mark question. So when the question comes outbreeding devices, you should know what that device is now. So there are naturally device produced or evolved in the plant, in the flower itself, to prevent self-pollination and enhance cross-pollination. So remember, outbreeding device, this is the introduction part which you have to write. This device enhances for cross-pollination and it prevents self-pollination in bisexual flowers. So very important to know why the device prevents self-pollination. Why? The answer is here. Continued self-pollination leads to inbreeding depression. To make you clear what inbreeding depression is, it is a type, the word depression makes you clear. It is totally down. It is, having the low level of reproductive phase over here. The reproduction capacity is reduced because of the self-pollination. So it is at the genetic level. The gametic combination is the same throughout, several generations. That's why it creates that, low quality type, and hence reduces the reproduction capacity. To avoid that inbreeding depression, there are certain outbreeding devices adapted naturally in the flower. Okay, so therefore flowering plants have naturally adapted the certain outbreeding devices so that it will only see that cross pollination occurs, not self pollination. So coming to the 4 devices picked up from your textbook, very important, and highlight them. First one is pollen release, stigma receptivity. Pollen release and stigma receptivity are not synchronized. What do you mean by synchronized? Together. Together they have to be. Together they have to act. But it is not. Why? Maturity is not together. What do you mean by maturity is not together? Pollen release will be taking or occurring first. After the whole process of pollen release, after a certain period, stigma becomes receptive. Okay, so don't think it is for much days. It's only for some cases. So pollen release occurs. After the complete pollen release, stigma becomes ready to accept. So we are saying they are not together. They do not become active together. So they take different times to become mature. I hope it is clear. The second point, anther and stigma are placed at different position. You can see the term here, heterostyly. Just split the word, you will get the idea here. Hetero means different, styly means styles. Pistil, the second part, the middle long, style. So different sizes of the style help in the different position. So here you can get the idea of placing the at a different position. You can get the idea looking at this picture here. You can see how the stamens and the pistils are. So you can see the anther here. The yellow part is the anther. Stigma is above. And in another, the style is shortened. So the stigma is below. Anther is above. So this is your heterostyly. We are talking about the length of the style which gives a different position in the flower. This is how, if you just observe here, here the chances of self-pollination is more, whereas here it doesn't. Okay, so you have to remember that. And remember, when the bee enters here, definitely as it comes out, it may carry the pollen grains. So here you have to remember the first point, It is not synchronized. Pollen release and stigma receptivity are not synchronized. That's why they are checking. It should be, it should be cross pollination. So they should not synchronize the maturation, and they have to be placed at different position. Then the third, self incompatibility. So what is that self incompatibility? A genetic mechanism where the stigma of the flower is not receptive to its own pollens or self pollens. It completely inhibits the pollen germination. To give you a better idea, observe this. So you can see here there is your 1-2 pollen grains. So when I say compatibility and incompatibility, let me make you clear with that word. When I say the word compatibility, it means there is a match. Okay, or it is the right type of pollen grain. That is called as compatibility. Incompatibility means it is wrong match or a wrong type of pollen grain. So you can observe here there are 2 pollen grains which is of right match, right type of pollen grain or compatible ones. Compatible pollen grains, once they are deposited on the stigma becomes receptive and allows the pollen germination. So what is pollen germination? Production of pollen tube. Now look at the second example here. There are 2 pollen grains. One is your pollen of right type, other one the pollen is of wrong type. So wrong type becomes incompatible. So imagine this pollen is of the same flower. Imagine this is the flower, this is the anther, and it produces pollen grains and deposits on the stigma. So that stigma, imagine it's over here. This stigma recognizes it as its own pollen, the pollen from my own flower. Like that it imagines, it can receive the signals and immediately it will stop or inhibit the pollen germination. So there is a chemical reaction between it. So imagine if this is the another pollen grain from another flower. It signals the stigma. The stigma will then accept the pollen grain for it to germinate to produce the pollen tube. Okay. And third example, if you see, both are of the same flower. Okay, same flower. They are not allowing the pollen grain to grow on the stigma. This is self-incompatibility. Not allowing its self-pollens to grow or germinate on the stigma. Hence preventing self-pollination and allows for cross-pollination. Last type, production of unisexual flowers or unisexual plants. You remember unisexual flowers, that is your pistillate and your staminate. Here the flower has only the pistil, that's why it is called as pistillate flower. Male flowers have only the stamens, that's why it is staminate flower. Okay, so remember this, very important. 5-mark question, give the introduction, give these 4 points. That's it. No diagram asked. Don't go to draw all these diagrams. No, it is not asked. Okay, it's only a theory point. Okay, so this is an important point. Dioecious, unisexual plants, unisexual flower. Dioecious, we are saying about the dioecious condition. Okay, please remember, I've written as let's summarize with extra information. So if you are free and have the patience to study something extra, please go through this. This is only for CET and NEET point of view. Otherwise, you can just skip off. Okay. Coming to the next topic, that is pollen pistil interaction. So you understood about right type of pollen and wrong type of pollen. So to understand what is pollen pistil interaction, there is a definition, okay, or a meaning to it. The pollen landing on stigma of the pistil might be compatible or incompatible with the stigma. Therefore, the acceptance and the rejection of the pollen by stigma depends on the compatibility. Okay. So what is that interaction? Pistil recognizes the right type of pollen to germinate and promote post-pollination events leading to fertilization. So to make you clear about what is that post-pollination, don't get confused with fertilization. What do you mean by post-pollination? You just see this picture here. You can see one pollen grain that is not accepted. It is rejected. The second one is accepted. Okay. You can see the pollen tube. Once the pollination is done, post-pollination is production of pollen tube, entry of pollen tube into the micropyle, and the fertilization and the embryogenesis. That is all post-pollination. Don't get confused with post-fertilization. Okay. So you're clear with your definition. So this is all the introduction part. This is a 5-mark question here. Remember, this is the introduction. And go in order. What if the pollen and pistil are compatible? Then these events will take place. So pistil will accept the pollen. Formation of pollen tube occurs. The pollen tube will reach the ovary. Okay. This is a mistake here. It is the male gametes. Male gametes. Okay. Male. I hope you all can write it. Male gametes. At this place it is. Please cut off this word and write it as male gametes move into the pollen tube. Then pollen tube enters ovule through micropyle. Then the pollen tube enters the synergid through filiform apparatus. Finally, fertilization occurs. This is when it is compatible. When it is incompatible, see that you are writing about the rejection. Pistil rejects the pollen, prevents the pollen tube growth and prevents fertilization. It is easy to remember. See that you are writing in order. And for this answer, a diagram is asked. So I prefer you all to draw this diagram, the middle one especially, which shows the acceptance and the rejection. Okay. And you're talking about your pollen pistil interaction. This is only about your compatibility, whether it is compatible or not compatible. So not compatible is called as self-incompatibility. We are talking about the own pollens are not accepted. Okay, different pollens from other flowers are accepted. Okay, and this is what you're showing about the interaction. So this is from your textbook. I recommend you all to draw this particular diagram than this. Okay, than this. I recommend you all to draw this diagram with all the labelings and the middle one. So see that you are improving your speed, diagrams, theory part, everything should be neat as well as in order. Okay, do not skip. If the moment you are finding it difficult to remember the points, leave space, write the next answer. Never go to write to be continued in this page. You are not showing the serials here. So see that you are giving some space because you are given ample of extra papers to write the answers. You don't worry about it. See that neatness, speed is in proper pace. This is about your just a conclusion. You need not explain this. I've just given specially to highlight this sentence. Chemical components of the pollen interact with those of the pistil. That is how your genetic, identification, genetic recognition occurs. That is your genetic mechanism. Coming to the next topic, manipulation of pollen pistil interaction. To understand this manipulation, it is man-made. It is not natural, it is man-made. That's why it is artificial hybridization. Till now what you have understood here, till here the pollen pistil interaction was natural. Okay, it happens according to the nature's way. But here it is not in the nature's way. It is according to the people. How they desire this combination I want, this character I want, this nutrient content I want. So based on that, it is artificial hybridization, a type of manipulation of pollen pistil interaction, and it is a major approach in crop improvement program. I recommend this particular definition for you all to follow. This is from the Google I've just selected. Which you are able to follow, you can follow and write in the exam. Okay. So the definition, the process of crossing two genetically different individuals. Remember, crossing two genetically different individuals which have desirable traits. When I say traits, characters. They have a desirable character. Okay, to obtain an offspring having superior traits than the parents. So we are saying we are crossing the two different genetically different individuals having desirable character, and to obtain young ones with superior characters. This desirable character is only superior, which I have selected, which is more superior than parents. I hope the sentence is clear. Coming to the textbook definition, the knowledge of pollen-pistil interaction helps in the crossing of different species and genera to produce commercially superior varieties. So we are just giving in short here crossing of different species or genera to produce commercially superior varieties. This technique is known as artificial hybridization. So with this knowledge, pollen-pistil interaction, we are able to cross the different species to produce superior varieties. This is your artificial hybridization. Okay. So this is your diagrammatic view. You know about your pea flower, which is closed. We call it as cleistogamous flower, where only self-pollination occurs. So what do? We cut open the flower when it is young. Okay, when it is young, we cut. So pollination does not occur when it is young. They are not mature. The stamens and the pistil is not mature. So you have to just take this is one flower. Okay, this is another flower. So let me just give the number 1 and number 2. So this is the first flower which I have taken. I slowly cut off the petals. I cut off only the stamens. So you can see here anthers are removed. Okay, so this is the first plant. Anthers are removed. So you can see the anthers are absent here. So this is called as your emasculation process. You can see the word here, emasculation. So this is a technique. So these are the following techniques to achieve artificial hybridization. What is that emasculation? Removal of young anthers. Please add the word as young anthers. Okay. Removal of young anthers from bisexual flowers of female. I think here the word female is not needed. From the bisexual flowers. This much is enough. Okay. This is done before the anther matures. It prevents self-pollination. So this is, you can just cut this part. You write it as removal of young anthers from bisexual flowers. Okay. Then that is emasculation process. This much is enough. No need of writing extra. This you can, if you want, you can write it. It prevents self-pollination. That is why you are doing artificial hybridization. Then there is bagging. So first we'll read what is here. Covering the emasculated flower. What is emasculation? You have cut off the young anthers. That is called as emasculation. Prevents contamination. That's why you are bagging it. You are covering it. So to cover the emasculated flower to prevent contamination. Contamination with what? Prevents contamination with unwanted pollens. You don't want one random pollen to sit on it. You want your selected, the desirable character, the desirable trait. That pollen you want to place it on the flower. So the desired pollen grains are dusted on stigma. Then the flowers are bagged again. So as soon as you cut, we cover it. Why? So because we have another work. I don't want any other pollens to sit on it. Okay. So we cover it immediately. And the second flower is chosen. In this, the mature anther has the pollen grains. So with this paintbrush, we are collecting the pollen grains. And this is your after cut. After the flower is cut, this is how it looks. The stamens are cut, right? This is how it looks. So this paintbrush is useful to tap the pollen grains from your desirable flower. Okay, so you got some idea. Once it is tapped, the tapping process is not important for you. Okay, this is actually your practical part. You just remember the two important techniques, that is bagging. So once you are done with the emasculation process, after tapping the pollen grains, dusting the pollen grains, you're covering the flower. So this particular sentences are more than enough for you to explain. Please remember, in first one, emasculation, write only till here. This is not required. This is exceptional. Okay, star mark, not required actually. Okay, and this word young anther. Okay, removal of young anthers. Please make the correction. And these three, please include all. This is, I've told you again, it is an option for you. If you want, you can include. So this is actually very important to prevent self-pollination. You can select any one diagram if it is asked. Usually they have not asked till now, but if they are asking, you should be able to draw it, because this is a practical part. You are not doing it now. Coming to the fertilization events. So we are done with the pre-fertilization. So there was gametogenesis and gamete transfer. Gamete transfer was your pollination. We finished with your pollination. The pollen pistil interaction also is your pre-fertilization. Okay, why pre-fertilization? There is still your transfer of male gametes. The male gametes was reaching the embryo sac. So that is still your process of gamete transfer. We are done with pre-fertilization and now we are going through the fertilization events. Coming to the fertilization, you have already come across the term double fertilization. Just to go quickly, because this is an easy topic, when two male gametes released into the cytoplasm of synergid, one male gamete fuses with the egg cell, that is called as syngamy, to produce what? A diploid zygote. Whereas the other male gamete fuses with the two polar nuclei, and that process is called as triple fusion, to produce what? Primary endosperm nucleus, PEN. So here there is syngamy, there is triple fusion. So that is called as your double fertilization. So this, or the phenomenon of two types of fusion, that is syngamy and the triple fusion, take place in the embryo sac of angiosperms, is termed as double fertilization. That is your 1 mark answer. So you should be able to highlight this one. Again the diagram is coming. That is your double fertilization asked for 5 marks. So the process is here. It's easy. You can remember it, and it is a repetition from your first POC. So after the male gametes enter the synergids, it is any one of the synergid. Remember, it is one of the synergid, not both. Any one you can see even in the picture. Only to one it has entered. Only in one it has entered. Any one it will enter. Any one. So that's why they have mentioned here, entering one of the synergids, the pollen tube will release two male gametes into the cytoplasm of synergid. So one male gamete moves towards the egg, fuses with its nucleus, and forms a zygote, diploid zygote. So this is called as your syngamy. It results in the formation of diploid cell called zygote. The another male gamete fuses with the polar nuclei, two polar nuclei, that is located in the central cell. Once it fuses, so remember, haploid, two haploid, okay, and male gamete is single haploid here. So 2 plus 1, it becomes 3. That's why triploid primary endosperm nucleus is formed. That's why it is PEN. Full form can be asked. Expand PEN. You should be able to write. Now, this process is called as triple fusion. Fusion of 3 haploid nuclei. It is termed as triple fusion. Can be asked as 1 mark question. Since the two type of fusions, this is the same thing, which I've again repeated, the phenomenon or the definition of double fertilization. So two fusions, that is syngamy and triple fusion, occurring in the embryo sac of angiosperms, is termed as your double fertilization. This phenomenon is called as double fertilization. So the central cell becomes as primary endosperm cell. This is PEC. Previous it was PEN. Please don't get confused. So we are talking about the central cell here. Before it was nuclei. Now it is a cell. So this cell will divide again and again to produce endosperm, which is the next topic in the next class. And the zygote will develop into an embryo. So I have almost come to an end. Thank you, students. Questions I'll be sending you into the PDF form. Okay. Yes. Any doubts? Let me know. Thank you.